think one of the things I was thinking with the demeanor is like, oh, I might develop the professionalism or dress with success kind of workshop. And it's like, oh, you'll get to see it too. We're doing it for the kids, but you'll get to see it also.
Yeah.
So maybe something will.
And maybe she doesn't.
Right.
Because, you want her to have the discovery.
Right.
So that she can be like, it was her idea. I'm not dressing right. Right?
That's a good point. Yeah, yes.
Because I tell
that.
I tell people, like when I get a young coach and they want a big goatee, and I tell them, I said, pull up every head coach that looks like you. Do they have a goatee? Well, no. Okay, then you can't wear a goatee. I wore a goatee to an interview with a Naval Academy grad, and I didn't get the job. Why? Because I looked like Fu Manchu, right? And I thought that I was bigger and better than all that nonsense, but at the end of the day, you're not.
Right. That's a great point. And that's something that we would try to teach the kids. That's her authentic performance assessment. She do the workshop.
And it's like the high school girl you had in this summer, right? You ain't got to talk to her about it. She trying to get there.
Right.
They come back to what we talked about, the hiring, right? Picking the right people in the beginning that you can grow because they want to go there instead of trying to force all the people that are happy just being average to be great.
Right. And I think that is one of the things that I was able to kind of suss out with the new hires was the attitude and the aptitude for learning. I think so. Even if and maybe this is something you could also share sometime, even if they don't have the hard skills at the moment, it's kind of what is the, I don't know if it's time frame, but how do you start to kind of push and then develop them with the hard skills if they have the, I've already looked for the attitude and their kind of aptitude around learning.
So my whole deal now is just capacity, right? Capability and capacity over experience. Because I can hire a bunch of experienced people that don't ever get the job done. Right? But if you take a capable person and they don't fail very often, right? Because they're capable. They're capable of making a transition. They're capable of changing what they got to do. They're just capable people. And so I always, like I've been saying recently, like I'm taking capable over qualified. Right? I want a person that's, like you're saying, they got the right attitude and want to learn. Then it just comes back to, okay, what do you got to teach them right now? What's right in front of you? And then what do you need to develop in the next 18 months to push them to get the next job, the better job, or to be able to promote them, right?
That's a good point.
And that's how I always look at it, right? Like leadership development to me is, how do I prepare this person for the next better job? And what gaps do I see in their development that we need to fill and kind of grow out a little bit to make sure that they're ready to go in that next job?
Do you share something like that up front with them in some sense?
So it's a human capital deal. When you build enough human capital, right? When you have a good enough relationship with them, and I think it takes probably, you hired them, so you know them a little bit, but it takes you 2 or 3 months to really kind of, couple dinners, maybe a breakfast or 2, 3 breakfasts. Okay, now I know. Then you see them work, like me. You know me, I struggle to read and write. So when I hand you a PowerPoint, there's going to be a spelling error in it. I can check it 75 million times. So you come to me and say, hey, Jay, there's a spelling error. I've seen some spelling errors over time. What are you doing to work on that? And I'm going to tell you, I've been reading a lot more. It's 1,000 times better. But that's really who I am. So now you have this choice to make. Okay, do I limit what I expect out of them writing wise, or do I use their skill set somewhere else? But it's not, I don't want you to, it's not a hard deadline because it's people.
Right.
So when you're ready, and what you don't want to do though is like a year from now, start talking
about that. Right.
You know, and that kind of comes back to like, you need to know where they want to go and how you can help facilitate that. You know, like my kid right now going to the NFL. He wants to go to the NFL. He wants to kick in the NFL. Da 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 da. Okay, we worked on the action plan last year this time for this season, for last season. He was Big Ten Kicker of the Year. I called him on Christmas Day. I said, hey man, did you get your taps in today? He said, yup, I got them this morning. But he learned, because he didn't do them over spring practice, and he fell off a cliff at the end. So now he understands, like, he gonna get 1 or 2 shots at this kicking in the NFL. He gotta be A squared away. So he understands what he's supposed to do, but we put that plan in place a year ago, and he's still executing on that plan to get where he wants to go. But that's because, like, I know his goals, right? Like, his fallback plan is to go to work somewhere. He's gonna marry his wife, his fiance, who's a nurse. Like, that's the fallback plan. The primary plan right now is to get the NFL and stick, and we kind of know it may be a 3, 4, 5 year process because he's a kicker. Sometimes it takes time. But I know this, he understands fully what he needs to do and kind of a couple of his shortfalls. So he struggled from plus 50. He went 4 of 4 or 4 or 5 from plus 50 this year on the field. And before that, he couldn't make a field goal after 48 yards. Okay, so we fixed that problem. We fixed his consistency. He fixed it, right? Like, so we addressed a bunch of the problems, and that put him so much better. Now he's on the cusp of getting to where he wants to go, but he's still, like I told him, you got up to like probably 95%. That's where you're operating at. To go to the NFL, you got to get it all the way up to like 98. And them last 3% are going to take you a lot of work. You know, because there's a lot of 95s out there. There's not many 98s, 99s, 100s. So, but it helps if you know where they want to go.
Right. Yeah, no, that's important. I think that is. That'll actually be good. We're coming up on our mid-year performance reviews will be happening, and that's a good time to revisit that with folks, especially the ones that have been here, but for the new ones that have come in. It's kind of like you get hired, and then you get in, and you really start to see, you know, like the curtain has been pulled back a little bit, so you can really start to see what you've gotten yourself into, and so that'll making sure that they are clear and they've thought about it and being able to share where they want to go, some of what they want to do. That's good.
How do you feel about somebody, like, let's say somebody said, I want to be a fashion model, and they're working for you right now?
They're working for me right now. Well, frankly, the kind of person I am, I would say, well, what are you doing to get to be a fashion model? And then let's think about a plan.
Yeah, 100%.
So that
100%.
we can work that, and you can transition, and I can start transitioning somebody in that.
Yeah, but it don't. You like, I knew you were gonna say that, right? Like, be supportive of whatever their plan is, right? So, like, I got a buddy. His wife wants to be an actress. He's supporting her. He came to me. He said, "What do you think, Jake?" I said, "Listen, man." I said, "No one has any control over that. She not a Clint Eastwood. She not a Stallone." Like, there's no control about whether she makes it or not. She can work as hard as she wants for 50 years and not make it. And he said, so what should I do? I said, just support her. She went out to LA for a month and hated it and turned around and came back, and she's still dibbling and dallying. But she got a really good degree, and now she's trying to figure it out. But if you would have told her that, then she would have struggled, you know? So.
Yeah. I did want to tell you, I absolutely thought about one of the things you said with one of my hires around getting a start, like somebody, again, you know, they're capable even if they don't have all the experience.
Yeah.
So like it's even like the younger, like the program coordinator role I have. It's like part admin for us, but there's also like some project coordination. And young woman, her intent, she wants to go back to school, get her master's in public health, and do like healthcare administration, which is different, you know, a bit different than what we're doing. And I had some other candidates who were, you know, more experienced being the admin and doing things, and she had some of that experience too. But I thought about, I was like, I got a whole lot of things to do over this next, you know, like 18 to 21 months. I was like, that's on my little list. I got a whole list of things to do. And I was like, even though I know she wants to leave, I don't need to necessarily be looking for somebody that want to be here.
100%. 100%.
Whole time.
I get 1,000 times more out of a motivated person than you ever will somebody that's looking for a great job.
That's what I said. I was like, you know what?
How's it been working out?
Be ready. So far, so good. I mean, it's been short. It's only been, 2 weeks, really.
But you get an idea.
But yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to take 6 months. I don't know if I told you. Did I tell you I was interviewing for a Division I AD job?
Yeah, but we didn't get back.
Okay, so long story short, they called me in the middle of camp to interview for a Division I AD job. Crazy. The person that called me, I had just sat down with for 45 minutes in June, and he told me I wasn't ready yet. And 2 months later, he called me about the AD job. And so I stepped back and I looked at it, and I was like, okay, like you gotta be capable, right? And are you experienced enough to do the job? 100%. And I just thought about this morning, like you look at it all, and like I was hiring go-getters. Like I was gonna take people with me that had zero experience. They worked in athletics, but you know what I'm gonna say. I'm bringing a 23-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 25-year-old. And so when I was in the process, I talked to an AD, big AD, Power 5 AD, and he was like, you gotta do a 3-month assessment. And I said, 3 months? He's like, yeah. And my first thought was, I'm gonna do a 48-hour assessment. Like, I'm running everybody through my stations, and I'm gonna assess the whole athletic department in 48 hours. Because I'm bringing 3 people with me, I just need to know who I'm replacing immediately. And you know what I told you, like I'm changing culture on day one. Like, and that's the difference. A lot of people want to sit there and feel out new hires. Gary Vee says it best. He's like, you get a 3-week transition period with us, and at the end of 3 weeks, we're gonna figure out if we're gonna keep you or not. Because we're gonna know in that first 3 weeks if you are who you said you were and you're capable, then you'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times we'll let a bad hire, which we all made bad hires, go on for a year and a half. And you knew in the first 2 weeks, this ain't gonna work.
Right.